Tiago Alcantara. Right, Kluivert is a really big topic. In fact, in a day where we have the Coppa Italia final and we're coming towards the end of the season, we don't really have many good transfer news today. But something which I do want to talk about, and I've been planning to talk about since quite a long while, is Justin Kluivert. Because, no, I mean, in this live stream, I'm not going to necessarily just focus on him. I'm going to focus on two different players, Justin Kluivert and Cengiz Under. Now, these two players are two players which are Roma players, but both have been loaned out to French teams. Kluivert has been loaned out to Nice, and Cengiz Under has been loaned out to Marseille. Now, I think the situation with the buyback of these two players is very different, because I think the situation to buy back Kluivert is completely different to the situation when it comes to buying back, to buying back Under. It's two completely different situations, and people think that the fact that these two players are Roma players, they used to play for Roma. The fact that they've been loaned out, everyone thinks, okay, we must automatically get them back. I think this situation, this hypothesis, is good to be made on Justin Kluivert, but unfortunately it's not that easy to be made on Under. In fact, before talking about the juice of this live stream, which is Kluivert, as I said before, I do want to talk about Under. Now, Under is obviously a Roma player, as I said before, played a big part in Roma's positioning in the semi-final of the Champions League in 2018. He provided that assist to Manolas in that epic Barcelona comeback from a corner kick. He played a big part in that. Then, with the arrival of Fonseca, he got loaned out to Marseille. Now, Marseille in the French league are really keen on buying on their back. And Marseille are basically, as well as PSG, guaranteed a spot in the next Champions League. That obviously means that they will earn more money as a prize. And I've read many sources, including Fabrizio Romano, saying that Olympique Marseille are tempted to use that money, part of that money for the qualifiers in the Champions League, to spend and pay Roma to permanently buy Under. Now, I think when it comes to Under, we ought to say yes. We need to say yes, for the simple reason being that I can't see Under being a big part in Mourinho's project. I just can't. And the fact that Mourinho doesn't play with a real right wing like we've seen it. Zaniolo is born as a right wing. However, this season we've barely ever seen him as a right wing. I think if Under gets back to Roma, I think he can have a negative impact. He is a right winger, but for example, following Mourinho's plans, I can't see Under giving support to Tammy as a double striker like Zaniolo is doing right now. He just doesn't have the physique to do so. So I think Under is kind of cut out of our projects, I'm not gonna lie. And that means though that we can, by selling him permanently to Marseille, we can get quite a lot of money from it. Because Under is worth around 15 to 20 million euros, and 15 to 20 million euros doesn't sound like a massive amount of money, but at the end of the day, if you accumulate it with many other amounts of money, it plays a big part. It is a significant part. So when it comes to Under, I think Marseille will operate not the buyback clause, but buying him back permanently, because he is currently on loan. But what I want to talk about really in this is Justin Kluivert, because unfortunately the two situations look very similar. Both players coming from Roma, both players getting loaned out to the French league, to French clubs. Unfortunately, the situation with Kluivert is drastically different, for the main reason being that Nice are one step away from not qualifying in the next Champions League. And Nice aren't a rich club. What does that mean? That at the start of the season, when they were second in the league, they were really, really confident with Kluivert, and they were really confident to get second at the end of the league and therefore get that money to buy Kluivert on a permanent deal. But unfortunately, they've bottled it because in the French league, only 2 teams go in the Champions League. PSG, 100%. Marseille are basically there, if not 100% confirmed. To be honest, I don't follow the French league. That means that Nice are cut out of the Champions League race. And as much as they wanted to get Justin Kluivert on a permanent deal, much of this depended upon their positioning in the Champions League. And they aren't in a Champions League next season, and this means that the money which they were planning to use to buy Kluivert isn't there anymore. It's non-existent, and that will most probably mean that Nice will need to sacrifice Kluivert, and that will most probably mean that he will get back to Roma. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think between him and Under, I think he's got more talent than Under. You know, out of the 2 players, I think he's the one who can have a more bright future, if you see what I mean. I think he's got the talent, he's faster on the ball, he's got more skills. Under has got only 2 things when it comes to actually as a profile. He's really fast and he has a really good left foot. If Under tries to even shoot with his right foot, God knows where the ball will go. Kluivert, on the other hand, I get the impression is a more complete player. A player which we can use in many different positions, because one position is Zalewski's position, which, you know, and I've been contradicting myself lately because I've said we don't need another left back, another left wing, left back, whatever you want to call it. But we wouldn't buy Kluivert, and having more players improves your squad depth step by step. So he can also play, however, as a left winger, and that is where we were talking about yesterday. You know, Korsdorp is a left back, but doesn't defend. So basically, Kluivert is like Korsdorp, but more offensive. You know, and that is where I think Kluivert can come in useful. Because I'm not saying he will play and will be a Korsdorp substitution. But I can see many matches in where Mourinho doesn't want to play with a right back, and therefore just places a left wing. And that's where Kluivert comes in useful. So in a way, he isn't a substitution for Korsdorp, but on the other hand, he is. Now, Kluivert is a player which left Roma on a loan because he didn't really enjoy his experience in Rome. You know, playing for Roma, you know, puts you on a lot of pressure. The fans always want the best out of you. And unfortunately, Kluivert, when he used to play for Roma, didn't have the chances to show who he was. Now, once again, I'm not saying he is Pedri. I am not saying he is Gavi. He's young, he's 23 years old. I'm not saying he is a massive young star like Ansu Fati, just to give you an example. But I am saying that he's extremely young, 23 years old, and he's at that stage of his career where he needs to show who he is. And he did show us who he was at the start of the season at Nice. He was playing pretty well, but then he kind of had a drop. Because I think the entire Nice team had a drop. So I see this as a positive. Now, I've said it many times, I'm a very difficult person to actually get satisfied, you know, unless we buy big players. I always link drawbacks to them. But I can see Kluivert being a really, really, really good weapon, extra weapon for next season. Plus, we wouldn't need to buy Kluivert. Second of all, we've already basically established his wages because he did play for Roma, as I said before. And second of all, that does mean that we will need to buy one less player this summer, which might be a positive, might be a negative. Because at the end of the day, over the last, at least 5 years, we've been continuously buying players which are at the same level as Kluivert. We haven't really stuck out and, you know, bought a big player. So, at the end of the day, even if Kluivert doesn't come in useful, we would have definitely this summer bought a player the same level of Kluivert, but this time we wouldn't need to pay for him. And Kluivert, as I said before, has got something to show everyone. And I think I want to see him back in Rome. I want to see him back playing for this club. I really want to see him back playing for this club because I truly think he's got a hidden gem inside of him. He just needs to his father was a really big player at Barcelona. He's got that football career experience in his life. His background, he's got that football experience. So I think Kluivert can be a good extra weapon. Now, once again, do I think if we get Kluivert back, he would be a starter? 100% not. But something which I think another kind of example, another factor, let's call it, of if we buy back Kluivert is El Shaarawy. Because I think a lot of this deal, in a way, links to El Shaarawy. Because El Shaarawy is one of the players, which I hate to say it, because, in that massive Champions League year at Roma, he was a big part. El Shaarawy is playing extremely deep. Extremely deep. He's playing too deep that he's basically non-existent when he plays. I hate to say it, but El Shaarawy should be sold. Because we can make God knows how much money from that deal. He earns a lot of wages. He's the second most paid player in the club. And I hate to say it because I love El Shaarawy. But the reality is we should sell El Shaarawy. That is the reality of this. We should 100%, I wouldn't say 100%, but if a big offer approaches, I would sell El Shaarawy hands down. I think El Shaarawy is not enjoying life under Mourinho. And unlike many players who are absolutely loving it, he's one of the players which, I'm not saying he's hating it, but who is feeling the more drawbacks from this. Because he is being placed in a position which is not his position. He is basically lately, he's turned into a left back. He is not a left back. El Shaarawy is a left winger. And if El Shaarawy keeps on playing this deep, he just will not give an impact to the squad. This is why I'm saying it. If we get a big offer from El Shaarawy, I would 100% sell him. And I hate to say it. I really do, because I love El Shaarawy. But I think Kluivert, once El Shaarawy leaves, he can be that sort of... You see, he can be what El Shaarawy is doing this year, but obviously, hopefully in a more positive note. He can be a good substitution. And one thing which we need to improve is squad depth. And by doing that is buying as many players as possible. Not buying as many players as possible, like we need to stuff our mouths or something, but we need to buy a good amount of players to improve the squad depth. Because the fact that we are in a UEFA Conference League final, which is still a European tournament, with the squad depth we have, is impressive. It's really impressive. This is why I think Kluivert can be a good weapon to this team. Now, also, one of the weirdest things when it comes to this summer was the fact that Mourinho, after it was his Europa League final at Manchester United in Stockholm against Ajax, right? When Kluivert was a really, really, really young player back then. I mean, once again, this links to it. Ajax have got a really good academy squad. And Mourinho, at the end of the match, went to Kluivert and said, "You will be my future star." And then everyone expected Mourinho being a new Roma manager, Kluivert being a Roma player. Everyone expected this bond to be built. But then all of a sudden Mourinho said, "No, I don't need Kluivert anymore." So there was a really, really, really weird thing going on this summer. But I think once again, I'll be honest, this might be a big statement. If Kluivert manages to get Mourinho's faith back, something which he didn't do this summer, if Kluivert really, really, really manages to get Mourinho, the star which Mourinho called, if he really, really, really impresses Mourinho and really shows Mourinho that he is a star, this might be a big statement, but I can see Kluivert being a starter in this team. Frankly speaking, if Kluivert buys Mourinho's faith back, this is a massive statement. I can see Kluivert if he plays well, if he's consistent, starting over Zaniolo next season if Zaniolo's not sold. Even if we sell Zaniolo and we get Kluivert back and we buy other players, the same applies to this. I can see Kluivert being a big part of Mourinho's project. And I genuinely think at the start, if he comes back immediately, I wouldn't put him in a starting 11 because he needs to buy Mourinho's faith back. He needs to impress everyone. He needs to get back playing with the team. He needs to form the bond with Tammy. But slowly, as time evolves and Kluivert gets all of this back, I can see it visually and physically and realistically. I can see him being a starter of Roma next season. I genuinely do. So, I think he's one of those players which is an extra weapon. Because even if he doesn't turn out to be that starting player, that starting 11 player which everyone, maybe expected him to be, he can be a really good substitution. I think, for example, he is miles better than Carles Perez. And the fact that one of the players which we've rotated the most is Carles Perez, like one of the players which played a big part in squad depth this season, giving a rest to some players, has been Carles Perez, is a really big hit. So I think, for what I've seen, I think Kluivert is better than Carles Perez. That automatically improves the squad depth, doesn't it? But, once again, if it's not like if we buy Kluivert, oh yeah, squad depth is improved. Yes, we're winning this area. No, we need to buy more players. He is a good player to start rebuilding the squad depth with. He's a really good player to do so, and I can't emphasize this phrase more. But obviously, we will need other players to improve the overall squad depth as well. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. Conclusion of this is really the fact that I think he's a weapon. And unlike Under, Nice have basically already announced that they are gonna unfortunately sacrifice Kluivert because of their missed Champions League spot, and therefore that meant that they could have used that money to buy him back from Kluivert, because Nice was really impressed with the with the kind of effect that Kluivert brought to the team. Nice at the start of the season was second, and one of his big man was Justin Kluivert. He wasn't their main top scorer, but he was one of those assist. He was one of their assist makers. In fact, Kluivert really played well at Nice at the start of the season. In fact, that's where most of his statistics and contributions come from. I'm gonna quickly see how many assists he got, because you can see that he got the goals. He's not a player who scores much. He scored 5 goals, and that's already more than Zaniolo. But just to give you a perspective, he has got. He's got 7 assists. 7 assists in both League One, like their FA Cup equivalent of the French League, and their EFL Cup as well. So that already is an improvement from Zaniolo. Now I'm not saying that Zaniolo cut him off, Kluivert in, because I think if we can have both players, it would be even better. But obviously the French league is a way less competitive league than this area, so that will definitely be considered. But I can see him being a really big part of Mourinho's project. So yeah, that's what I think. Let's see. I'm gonna read some comments. He should really get a chance. He's young and something different, says JTV. That would be really good if we get the money from selling Under. Good to add to our upcoming transfer budget. On there is a B-Tech Carles Perez. I think Kluivert does have talent too. He seems like a guy who has the talent, but mentally he can be sometimes on and off. I remember years ago Jose did praise Kluivert. Maybe he can get his best. Yeah, I think the fact that he's really mentally on and off is the fact that he's very young. Let's not forget this. 23 years old is a very young player still. We have got younger players in our squad, but 23 years old is still a young age. Do you think Matic is coming? We haven't heard anything. I mean, we've been linked to many Man United players, but right now I'd say no, but who knows. You're right, Simon. All Kluivert has to do is work hard and impress Jose with mentality. That is what Jose loves. Obviously, he didn't show that mentality in the past, but maybe now he can show it. I agree, 100% agree. Is it Matic going to Juventus? We don't care. In fact, I hope Juventus lose tonight, up the Inter tonight, because can't see Juventus live. Imagine how good it would be, yet again, I mean, not yet again, because last season they did win the Coppa Italia. No. What did they win? They won something last year. But how good would it be to see, for the first time in God knows how much time, Juventus not lifting a trophy? Like, tonight in the final of the Coppa Italia, the Olimpico in Rome. In fact, I can there's traffic all around. Tonight at the Olimpico, it's the final of the Coppa Italia. Juventus against Inter Milan. How good would it be to see Juventus not lift a trophy? That would be, amazing. So up the Inter tonight, 100%. He is better than Perez, says Giallorossi Indonesia. So, right, I'll catch you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. Match preview, because we're playing on Saturday. Weird. I am going to the stadium, by the way, with Josh. Saturday night, last home game of the season. It's a big one, it's a really big one. It doesn't look like a big one when you look at it, but it's got a massive meaning behind it, Europa League next season. So we're playing Saturday night, tomorrow will be the preview, so if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen, smash the subscribe button. Let's try and get 4,000 subscribers as fast as possible. We're like 15 subscribers away. If you're watching and you haven't already, please subscribe and also share the link with your families and friends. Also, please like the live stream as soon as it becomes a video as well. And follow me on Instagram over there in the yellow box at Simon Lowerscore, AS Lowerscore. Let me quickly read the results of the poll. Let's see what people think. Right, 87% yes, 13% say no. Yes, I agree. I want Kluivert as well. I love you. You are incredible. I love you too. On the topic of the Coppa Italia final, what is your prediction? It's a big one. It's a tough one because Juventus haven't been playing great lately, but neither have Inter Milan. I think I've got two really good. I've got two predictions. I think it will either be one of the most boring matches of the centuries, end 0-0, go to extra time 0-0, and then someone wins at penalties. But or it could be a really good match. I'm going 2-1 Inter within the 90 minutes, just because I don't want Juventus to win. So it's biased, but yeah, 2-1 Inter within the 90 minutes. No extra time, no penalties. Inter to win in the 90 minutes. 2-1. Dzeko to score back in his old stadium, hopefully in front of the Kura suit. So